Well, y'all, we did it, and we have now got an epic quail pen right beside our house. Okay, so I've been telling you in the tours and on the planning video that we were planning a quail pen that would be right beside our house, utilizing a space that wasn't getting used properly. We couldn't really grow food in it, and so we decided, why not put a quail pen there? We've been wanting to get bobwhites back on our property, so we've had quail before, we've done cornix, and we've done bobwhites, and we sent our bobwhites up to my in-laws, and so they've been keeping them for us, and now it's time to get some back and to get them in our epic quail pen here. That is awesome. So I'm going to start this video on step by step how we did it and take you through like just clearing out the bed, figuring out how we were going to do a custom pen, because this is custom the way we had to build it, because we were using things we already had, materials we already had, and the space we already had. So we couldn't just make everything just perfectly measured, okay? So follow along with us, because this is something you can do on a big homestead or in your backyard, guys. If you're looking for a meat bird or an egg production bird and you can't have chickens, you might can do quail, and this is an option for you to put in your backyard, because quail are a quieter bird, and when they do call, it sounds like a songbird, so you don't have that annoying chicken sound sometimes that neighbors don't like. And so this is a way that you could possibly have an egg production and a meat bird on your small farm or property. So the first thing I had to do before we could even build this cage is I had to clear all of this out. This bed was pretty overgrown, and I shot some footage while I did that because that was a while back. We've just kind of been slowly working on this as the weather and time has allowed. So I'm going to show you that real quick.
For this project, I brought out all the major cutting tools. So we have the long ones, we have short ones, we have a lot of juniper in here to cut down. I'm going to cut it all the way down to the base. We are going to keep a few of the little trees, and we're going to try to keep this cypress for shade and for protection for the quail. And so I've got a lot to do.
The gnarly snail I found clearing out the quail aviary, which I don't know if quail will eat them, but ducks love to eat this guy. So he's not the biggest I've ever found. I found a huge one time in my strawberry patch, of course, and it was gigantic. Today we are starting on our epic quail pen. So we have got our plans together, we got our supplies, we're going to start this morning. So here was my original idea on this envelope, and then my dad's rendition of just breaking it down, and we've done a few little modifications since then talking. And so my dad is actually coming to help us build this because he has more experience and more skills than we do, and we kind of learn as he comes and helps us, so that in the future we can pass those skills on and we don't have to use him for so much help. But he's good at thinking on his feet and figuring out stuff. He's kind of like a jack of all trades, and if there's a problem, he is a solution man. It's never, oh, I can't do this. It's like, well, how can I do this? So he's great at odd projects like this, because this is a custom project. It is not a certain size. We have a super high spot on the wall here. It is up to 8 feet up there. Then it goes to 6 feet. Then it goes to like, I think it's like 6.5 feet here to 6 foot in the back. And so we already had these cross ties here. We're having to replace one. We're having to replace one of the cross ties here, and that's what they're picking up right now. And the cage, as you see, it kind of steps down because, you know, our house, if you've been watching for a while, our homestead videos, you know, our house is on the side of a hill. And so we're just working with what we have. And that's what makes this a custom job, is we couldn't just measure out, okay, the whole thing's going to be, you know, 5 foot wide, which it actually is. It turned out to be about 5 foot wide. But we can't say, okay, the whole thing's going to be this height, you know, the whole thing at the bottom. And so this is a custom job that we're just having to do as we go. So follow us along and see how this goes.
Day one is done. So this is what we got done today. You see, that's a lot. So we started about 9, finished about, I'd say like 4 or something, 5. So the framework is up completely. The only thing we're missing is a door and chicken wire that's going to go along the side. And so we're going to try to get some wire up tomorrow afternoon, and then Monday finish the doors. So I think that's pretty good for one day. So I want to go through some of this. The boards that you saw them put up at the very end across the top here, that's to make it easy to lay the chicken wire across the top and drop. So we're going to lay it across the top first, drop it down. It's every 5 feet, I believe. So that way it can go across, drop down, and we can easily just nail it or staple it to the sides. And so the only thing that's going to be a cut and custom is going to be the ends. I see you. I see you. He's gotten to where he is not very shy at all. I feel like he would be my friend. He eats my strawberries. So, cross, down, staple, door.
Okay guys, so I just filled in, I'm going to fill most of it in with the wood chips, just because I think it'd be easier for them to walk on, and kind of an experiment. When we raised them before, we had them in tractors, and we just kind of tractored them around the yard, and they never really scratched up or tore up a whole lot, but this was just bare dirt. So I figure the wood chips will give them something to scratch through, as well as, you know, handle all the waste that happens from them as they're in here. And hopefully it'll break down and we just have to, like, you know, load more in there. If that's not what's going to happen, then more than likely, you know, I may dig it all out maybe twice a year and put it into the compost and freshen it up. So that's just some ideas right now. We did, as you saw before, you know, these are the areas I left. Substantial cutting back to give them room. And then we're talking about possibly putting like roost across there, maybe this way in the corner. I just don't want anything where I'm going to bang my head. I mean, right here is a post, and I'm just about 5'3", so that's almost to my head. And of course, as I go down here, it's getting taller, so that would probably be where they will, I'll roost them at. And see if they enjoy that. I'm going to leave this there just to see what they do with it and how they handle it. And maybe they're going to like that more and possibly have to remove this. But I just thought it'd be easier to do it while there's no wire on here right now. And so that's coming next. We're just going to staple it up there with the air gun. So yesterday we added some chicken wire. We didn't do the ends yet. We did it across the top and the bottom. I started to record it and the battery went dead, but then I'm kind of glad I didn't, because it was a super kind of long process and it was kind of complicated. We did run into some issues at first, so it took us the first run over here to figure out that we didn't want to keep it on the big roll. We had it on the big roll and we pushed it over, and the roll just weighed it down so much down here that it was hard to maneuver and to stretch out on this first one. So from then on, we took a measuring tape and we started over there by the wall, and we just measured across the top and down the bottom, and then cut a lot of extra on it. So that actually was a lot easier. It was easier to handle. It was easier to stretch. We don't use chicken wire a whole lot because of that, because it is hard to manipulate and to make straight. We usually use the little tiny squares for like the rabbits and the quail and stuff. It keeps little critters from, or like raccoons and possums, from reaching through, which we are probably going to run some along the bottom just so that they can't, because raccoons and possums will take their little hands through this wire and grab a bird and just start trying to pull the bird through, and can actually kill them. And these are quail. I mean, they're super fast. It's going to be kind of hard for them to grab them, but they might be sleeping down here or something. So we're going to probably put a layer across the bottom of that tiny square. But I thought that was pretty good. We started yesterday afternoon while it was cool, and about 6:30 decided to stop, so we have to do this and the other end. And the reason we didn't do the door area is because I'm waiting on the door today. And then once the door is done today, we're going to run the wire across there and just cut it along the edge. We figured that would be the best bet. I may be wrong about that, but that was the plan. Okay, I wanted to show you how we put this board on the concrete wall. And so this just adds some stability, and it kept us from having to purchase more boards. But these are just the concrete anchor bolts. I can zoom in. And so what they did was we marked it and then drilled a hole through the board and and then through the wall so they would be even, and then put that anchor bolt in there. And then you can also buy the concrete glue as well to do that, but that's along the edges. All the bolts, they're in there. I'm trying to find another one. So there it is. Throw it up. And then along here, that 10 is just up there temporarily. We were just kind of looking at it. But right here and stuff. And the ivy, you know, I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I know I had to go back there and cut more of it. And I know it's going to grow up, and hopefully it just won't be just a total pain to deal with. But that's how we put those up there. And then this was up here, just strictly these top boards here, to help with the chicken wire. So that kept the chicken wire stable across the top and dropped back down. So we have got the whole thing done now in the chicken wire, and we have our door. And so the chicken wire took 3 people. Each time we did it, yesterday when we did it, it was the hubby, me, and my oldest. Today it was my dad, me, and my oldest. And it takes about 3 people to stretch it out and keep it where it needs to be, especially on this large scale and up so high. That's probably a lot of it. And then we put the door in. I went ahead and went with the good hinges, went ahead and went with a good handle, and the lock. I really like this lock because it has one of those where it's like the no miss. It doesn't matter. You're not having to push on the door. And if you've ever had cages that you built yourself and stuff, you know that they swell, they shrink, they go through these stages in different times of the year. And sometimes it's hard to get your lock in the just the right spot. So that sounded, looked perfect when I found it. We have the wire going all the way down, and we plan on covering this up with soil. So that way if critters want to try to dig under, it's going to be really hard for them to do. And to cover that hole up there, that drainage. We did add tin to the top, and so that's to protect their food and their water, and to give them shelter if they need it, and they will have a box. As you notice, there are no quail in here now. I'll do a separate video on that because I'm going to try out a new water that I'm ordering, and I want to try to make my own feeder so that they don't waste as much food inside their cage. Now, this was another part that we had. Now, this is our gutter here, and the gutter's coming off of the roof, of course. And this had become, it wasn't connected. And so we actually had to dig it out. And the whole point is so that it goes here and out of the brick. And then this would be the most vulnerable side for critters to dig under and try to get the quail. So we actually buried the tin under the dirt and then screwed it in on top of the chicken wire. So that way they can't sit there and burrow and dig underneath it. Now, in the wintertime, this side is facing north. So we are probably going to end up putting some kind of shield right here, like maybe more tin or a plastic covering on this side to keep the north wind from blowing in here. But during the summertime, I don't want that to be up. I didn't want it to be permanent. That was one of the questions. My dad was like, well, are you going to do that? And the only reason I don't want it permanent is because in the summer, the wind does need to go through the whole cage and let it air out. And they're going to want that cool breeze and airflow. So I didn't want it to get too hot and stuffy. And I don't like the fact that I can't see from the end behind there. So that bothers me from a safety standpoint. Just knowing that something could possibly, sneak behind there. I kind of like looking through it. So I think it came out really awesome. Really cool. So like I said, I'm going to probably add a roost or 2 in here for them to land on, and we're going to get our feeders and water set up and release our quail. So look for that one. Alright guys, so I hope that this kind of inspired you to come up with stuff and be creative around your house. Like I said, if you're looking for something to hold your birds and you don't have a lot of space, maybe you have a space in your house that's not being, or around your house that's not being utilized, okay? So think about what do you already have and how can you build on top of that and make it into a place for your chickens possibly, for quail, even pigeons. We used to have fancy tail pigeons, and we thought, well, that would have been an awesome, place to keep them in because they could have flown back and forth in there. And pigeons, you can't eat their eggs and you can't eat pigeons. Some people did that. We just had them for fun because we thought they were pretty, but that is an option possibly where you live. So this, hopefully will give you a unique way to think about stuff and to having things closer to your home. So this is going to be easier for me to take care of the quail, to come out here when it is cold and when it is hot, feed them more than going way out on our property and trying to, get their cage and in there. This is also going to allow me to go in and make it easier for me to get eggs, where before I had to actually duck in and kind of do like a little crawl in the cage that we had, and it wasn't fun because, you don't want to sit there and getting all their, nastiness. So hope this, like I said, inspires you, gets your gears going in your head. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more stuff come from us, which we do have more plans on our homestead. Like I said, we're changing into a permaculture style homestead. So if you want to keep watching, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. You can like it, click, click. And feel free to comment. We would love to have some positive reinforcement and comment on there. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok, both at Wildwood Wonder, and Facebook. And you can also visit the website and you can see the blogs and just different things that if you would like to support us as well financially, you can buy different products on there that are also gardening and homesteaded theme, and plus, just about the wildwood. So thanks for joining us and see you next time.